Hi, I'm Chelly Wood and this is my tiny sewing room where I make doll clothes sewing videos. Today I'm going to show you how to make a pinafore style dress for 15-inch to 16-inch dolls like Wellie wishers, vintage velvet dolls, and similar sized dolls. You may want to pair it with my Pioneer dress, which also has a free PDF sewing pattern on my website, chellywood.com. With that said, please go to my website, chellywood.com, to download and print these two free skirt patterns and the free bodice pattern. There is a link below this video on YouTube, and use the patterns to cut out all these pieces. Now, before you do the skirt pattern, you will want to attach them, and you just do like I'm doing here, overlap the little bar that's in the middle, and then use just Scotch tape. Lay one bodice back on top of another bodice back, just like you see me doing here, and sew around the armhole, the back closure, and the neck. Here's a closer look at the armhole stitches, and these are my neck and back closure stitches. Follow these directions for both backs. Lay one bodice front on top of another, just like you see me doing here, and sew the neckline and both armhole areas. Again, here are closer shots of my stitches. Clip all seams. Now, the first part of this video was actually made several years ago before I had my Fiskars stitchers. So you'll notice in this next video clip, I'm using big clunky scissors to clip my seams. Now, I recommend that you get Fiskars stitchers. I had no idea back in these days how handy these tools are, so if you don't have a pair of these already, I highly recommend purchasing a pair. They make life so much easier. You just have more precision with tiny scissors. Next, we'll invert the garment pieces, including both back pieces and the front piece too. Using a chopstick can help with inverting. And you'll see that I give it a little twist when I invert my garment pieces. I just kind of twist the chopstick inside there. Press all seams on both backs and the front. Set these aside for a moment and pick up your skirt. Along one of the long edges of the skirt's fabric, fold once and then a second time. So I fold once and then I fold a second time. Sew a hem from one end of the skirt to the other. I used a sewing machine for this, but you could use the whip stitch, and I have a link to my whip stitch tutorial below. Lay one bodice back on top of a bodice front. Sew across the shoulder. Here's a closer look at those stitches. Follow suit with the other back, stitching it in place as well. Open the bodice up like this and press the seams flat. If the shoulder seams hang out into the armhole a little bit, clip the overhanging area to hide it. So I did have that issue, so I'm going to clip this back a little bit just so it stays underneath the strap. You want to be careful, of course, that you don't accidentally cut your own seams. Just do one little bit at a time. So you can see how it's overhanging into the neckline. I'm just going to clip that out of the way. Fold one of the backs over against the front with right sides together. In other words, you should see your seams. Stitch along the side seam area and do the same with the other bodice back, attaching it to the front at the side seam too. Turn the bodice right side out, so you can see me doing that here. Now we'll need to work with the skirt again. Along the longest unfinished edge of the skirt, gather the fabric. Now look below for my gather video. Starting your gathers about 1.5 centimeters from the edge, which is almost 3/4 of an inch from the edge. End your gathers the same distance from the other edge on the opposite side of the skirt. Now do not tie off your gathers just yet. You need to pin the gathered skirt to the bodice. Just keep the needle and thread attached while you do this until you're sure that the skirt will fit the bodice correctly, with at least a 1/2 inch or 12 millimeters overhanging on each side of the skirt fabric. Backstitch to attach the skirt to the bodice, removing the straight pins as you sew along. Need help with the backstitch? I have a tutorial for that. Again, just look in the description below this video on YouTube. Once your skirt has been gathered and fully attached to the bodice, lift the bodice up like this. And as you do, the overhanging skirt fabric will naturally fold down like this. Here's a closer look at that. Fold the side of the skirt once and then a second time to create a back closure area. Now I'm going to show you exactly how I do that. You want to fold the bodice up, and as you fold the bodice up, this bodice right here, you'll see that the sides naturally fold down a little bit. So see how they're folding down? And then you're going to make a back closure area by folding once and then a second time. And you want it to be flush with the bodice. See how I run my finger over that and it's flush with the bodice? Then we're going to whip stitch between my two thumbs there. Whip stitch along this back closure area for about 1.5 inches or 4 centimeters. I'm using a whip stitch here. Of course, you could use a sewing machine. You're going to create this back closure area on both sides of the skirt for your pinafore. Fold the pinafore in half, like you see I've done right here. And you're going to stitch from the back closure down to the hem. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. So I just bring the armholes together, all right, and then at the back we're going to stitch from literally where my right thumb is to where my left thumb is. Here are my stitches at the back of the dress. From the back closure to the hem, invert the whole pinafore dress. Okay, so I'm inverting this. Where the back closure is, sew a few snaps down the back. If you need help sewing snaps on fabric, once again, I do have a tutorial for that. Just look in the links below. Now you're ready to try the Pinafore dress on a doll. For more free printable PDF sewing patterns for making doll clothes to fit dolls of many shapes and sizes, including the pattern for my Pioneer dress, be sure to visit my website, chellywood.com. Hey, did you know that you could design your own doll pants patterns from scratch with just a limited amount of sewing knowledge? Pattern design is made simple by connecting your doll's measurements with a template I give you during my course. I'm Chelly Wood, the doll clothing designer. I own Chelly Wood LLC and the website chellywood.com. In my Creative Spark online learning course on doll pants design, I'll teach you the basic fundamentals of pattern design, like how do seam allowances work, before we move on to work on designing our own leggings, jeans, fly front pants, and even overalls. So please join me. I would love to see you on the Creative Spark online learning platform. Come see what we offer. Again, I'm Chelly Wood, one of the instructors.